Eugene, can you say in a sentence or so exactly who you are and what you do and what you have to do with Doug Engelbart?
I met Doug in 1998. In 2000 is about when I really started getting to know him. I worked with him on a variety of capacities, on a variety of different projects in the early 2000s. And because of my interaction with him, I was really inspired to just change my career goals and to focus on doing something positive for the world. And so I started a social change consultancy in 2002. And as part of that consultancy in 2006, he asked me to come and lead his hyperscope project. So that was my professional relationship with Doug.
Were you working for him? Were you an employee of his?
I was never an employee of his. When I came to lead the hyperscope project in 2006, I was a consultant, basically, contractor.
What was it about him that impressed you the most?
About Doug?
Yes.
You know, at the end of the day, I think it's pretty simple. I think Doug was an incredibly kind, humble, generous man. I think that's the bottom line. He had an amazing vision, and he was incredibly committed to that. And I don't think that would have mattered if he wasn't the kind of person he was.
What do you think is the most important thing about his legacy? What do you think he'll be most remembered for?
I don't know what he'll be most remembered for. I know what I hope people will remember him for, and I think number one, it is the vision. It's the fact that we need to care about humanity and where we're headed, and we can't just let things go the route that we've been going. Otherwise, we're not going to be around. I think that's what's unfortunately the kind of negative message that he had for humanity. So I hope we keep that in mind. And I heard the other thing goes back to what I was saying. Like, to me, Doug lived his life in a way that all of us should live our lives, which is to be kind and compassionate to our fellow human beings.
Was he good at communicating his vision? Did people grasp it easily and make it their own?
I don't know that communication was Doug's strong point. He was certainly, I think the challenge is anytime you're describing something really big, something that people haven't necessarily experienced, it's going to be hard to explain. So I think that he was hamstrung by the size of what he was trying to communicate. But then the reality is, it's easy for me to say this kind of as I think about it, but if you look at all the people he inspired, and all of the amazing things that came out of that, both from his own lab and from his own work, but as well as all of the people he inspired, clearly he was doing something right.
So you would say that there's a large group of people who drew their inspiration directly from him and are now carrying on his vision?
Absolutely.
Are there any examples of that?
I think you've probably gotten a pretty good slice of examples here, and this is just scratching the surface. When I first met him, yeah, if you hear his spiel, right? It's pretty abstract, right? When he talks, he uses language. He has acronyms. It can be hard to kind of penetrate what's going on, and I spent a lot of time the first few years just trying to understand what he was talking about. But absolutely, one of the things that kind of kept me coming back to him and to motivate me to try and understand it was to see the impact that he had on so many people's lives. And it was everybody. I mean, even now, even today, during the remembrances, as people are talking, you hear stories from people you don't necessarily know or you haven't heard of, and you see the far-reaching impact he's had.
Do you think that his ultimate vision will be finally vindicated and it will become a mainstream vision?
I don't think it's about vindicating Doug. I think that's a wrong way to think about it. I mean, certainly as his friend and as someone who knew him and cared about him, you want him to be remembered in a positive way, but I think he's already accomplished that. I think what he cared about was humanity. And to talk about humanity being vindicated, I think it's whether or not we're around in 100 years, and not just whether or not we're around, but whether we're thriving, whether things are actually better in the future for our kids than they are for us right now. I think that's what it's all about.
Is there anything additional you'd like to add about Doug?
I go back to who he was as a person. I mean, I can't say that enough. Like, I think that when people look at his life and when they look at his list of accomplishments, you kind of look at that and you think to yourself, man, there must have been something exceptional about that person, and it must have been mysterious and something that we can't reach. And actually, what I would say about Doug is that there was something exceptional about him, but it's something that we all can reach, and that is being committed to something positive, and that's treating our fellow human beings with compassion. And I think that, to me, that's what Doug embodied, and I hope that's something that we all embrace.